Okay, it's 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Today is Tuesday, March the 15th, 2022. Welcome to week number 6. This is it. Week number 6. I guess that's 5 fingers and 1 thumb. So this is it. There are no more weeks after this. And so I'm going to take the time to go over the materials for this week. And let's start by sharing my screen. Most of you did pretty well with that week, the week 4 assignment. Okay. So let's start out by looking at the calendar for the last time. And we can move this month view. This is where we are today, the 15th. Initial post due tonight. Live lectures tonight. And then 3 days from now, the course ends. Your written assignment is due along with your discussion as well. Okay. And make sure you have everything in. So your reply post is due that day also. And of course, your key phrase is also due. All right. Let's take a look at the announcement posted this week. And week 6 announcement. Let's move that. Drug-related criminal activity, treatment and rehabilitation strategies. You're going to read chapter 10 of the text. I've provided you the PowerPoint, and we'll deal with the activities, treatment challenges related to opioid addiction and drug treatment and rehabilitation programs. And your discussion assignment on methadone clinics, your initial post is due tonight. Your reply post is due Friday. And let me make a correction here. Let me make a correction here while I'm doing it. Give me a second. I'm going to come back out of that. I want to edit that. Edit it. I forgot to change one of the dates. Here we go. Okay, here we go. All right, so now let's go back and look at it. It should be corrected now. Okay, so your initial post is due tonight, and then your reply post is due Friday, March the 18th. Finally, your written assignment, diversion, treatment, and rehabilitation strategies, and your final exam, which is timed, will be due also Friday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard. You remember that you got to make sure that that all these assignments are in before midnight, because if it's not finished, for example, if you're taking the quiz, the test, the final exam, you'll get timed out, and then whatever points that you have will go in. That's it. So again, just a reminder that the term ends on the 18th. All right. Of course, so we've been covering that every week since this course started. All right, so let's look at the module. Drug-related criminal activities, treatment and rehabilitation strategies. So your assignment, again, remember Dave, and you'll need to address the different types of treatment programs available for addiction treatment. explain the types of program you would recommend for Dave, locate an example, current example for each strategy below, for the diversion strategy, for the treatment strategy, for the rehabilitation strategy, and determine whether Dave would benefit from each of the current examples, diversion, treatment, or rehabilitation, and identify any sources that might help his mental health and his addiction. It says provide at least one credible source. You know my position on that. I want more than one, as an APA formatted reference as well. So citations in the body and references at the end. It must be 2 pages at a minimum. Double space, please, not single, double space. And it must be a Word document with a cover page and with a reference page. All right, please make sure that you follow that accordingly, because when I grade these, the course will be over, so you won't be able to make any changes. Now, remember, if you have no citations, you're going to end up over here because it's inaccurate or incomplete. I've already said that citations make it more complete. So here is where you want to end up. So exemplary summary, okay, of recommendations for Dave. Current local example, okay, example all the way down so you're familiar with how that works. Credible sources. If you don't have credible sources, you're going to lose points all along the way, not just here as well. But if you don't have any credible sources, I will automatically jump to this column for your papers. And then the other thing is that you need to make sure that you have accurate information and that it at least is equal to 2 pages, a minimum of 2 pages. Here we are over here. So if you have less than 2 pages, you could end up over here for that point. So I'll say that you don't have enough information. Just make sure that you understand that and get that. Any questions about the written assignment? Okay. All right. Anybody else questions? Okay. All right. Very good. So you guys who are not here, you understand. But I don't know. I've gone over this quite a bit, this course, and I've been pretty lenient with assignments being submitted, even if they were like a little bit late. But I can't do that for week 6. I cannot do it. It is absolutely going to have to be in before that. All right, let's move on. I'm not opening this up because you'll see the final exam. And the final exam is comprehensive. It'll cover the materials all the way from week 1 to 6. And if you've been taking the quizzes that we've been having in this course, you should be prepared for the final exam because it's actually a compilation. All right. So now we're going to talk about 2 topics. 2 topics before we adjourn for tonight. All right. So here we go. As you learned last week with Chasing the Dragon, the video, that opioid addiction is, as it says here, powerful and life-consuming. You saw the changes that individuals had because of the opioid overdoses, and that it puts people in a stage where they're hopeless and they can't socialize. They find themselves in situations where if they don't reach that stage, then they OD. And you saw where several individuals in that Chasing the Dragon video that we had last week, made it quite clear that there are some challenges that are related. And you also will recall that there were individuals who actually had gone for treatment, had gone in to um, the doctor, or either gone in these programs, and they were in them. And one young lady, you remember, she was in for a whole almost 7 or 8 months or something, came out, and as soon as she was out, she got back and she overdosed. Remember, she asked her mom, could she go get a pack of cigarettes, and she didn't know that the daughter was actually getting some drugs and was in her bedroom and didn't come down for dinner, and she found her dead. And then you remember the other instance of an individual who was having so many problems that they were even in the hospital and had an IV, and they had the dealer to come in and shoot the drugs into their IV. So there's a whole lot of challenges, both, as it says, physical and psychological. And it says here the body develops an increasingly high tolerance, which results in individuals wanting to increase their doses to get the same effect. So what do you think the consequences are increasing those doses? What happens when they increase those doses? Can someone tell me? Anybody? Overdose. That's the ultimate consequence. But the consequence, even along the way, is even more disastrous. Is that they die a slow death. And then look at what happens once. And so here's the deal: is we try to get people to understand that even one uh, incident can pull you down into it. It's like a spiraling staircase. So look at what it says. So when you try to kick the monkey off your back, try to get it off, look what happens. Uh, Restlessness, muscle and bone pain, insomnia, diarrhea, vomiting, cold flashes, and sweating. So there's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of suffering that takes place ultimately. Now, there are some medications which we talk about this week. One is bupropion, buprenorphine, and the other is methadone. Now, here's the deal with methadone. It deals with making it possible to make it easier for withdrawal, but the problem is that it's addictive too. So if you don't get your regular dose of methadone, then you're going to be in a bad situation. So what happens? You switch one drug for another drug. Okay, methadone is legal, but you gotta get to that clinic. And if you don't, you're gonna slip back into the situation that you were in before that. And so these methadone clinics are all over the place. And it says here that methadone is also detected in opioid on drug tests for employment. So it doesn't eliminate the possibility of using other opioids. So you can still run into problems there with it. My position, quite honestly, is that it's like this last paragraph says, it's a delay tactic, and it doesn't get you from 12 to 6 o'clock on the clock. In fact, it's a temporary relief type thing, and that, as it says, the hard work comes from going through the withdrawals and the suffering. So It says when taking methadone, a person may not be abusing opioids, but their commitment to the actions necessary for recovery is half-hearted, because they say, oh yeah, I could just get me a shot of methadone and I'm good to go. But guess what? You're not making any progress in terms of recovery, because what you did was you switched a drug for a drug. You still have to constantly involve yourself in intensive counseling, meetings, get a support network that's going to help you get out. But you're not going to want to do that, because you know why? Because it takes just a few seconds to get this methadone. Look at what it says. Some studies indicate that over 70% of the people relapse after they stop using the methadone. That's my point. So while it is something that is used, but it becomes a lifetime thing that you must get your fix. And if you don't, you're not going to really be helped. Now, I've heard people say to me, they say, well, at least they live a better life than they did when they were on the opioid. Yeah, but here's the problem. You can fall back really fast into what you were into before that if you don't get that dose. It's like that monkey is still on your back, but you're keeping it quiet. That's the way I would put it. That's the best way I can put it. So I know the pros. The pros is that it helps you, but it doesn't help you to deal with the addiction. You just become addicted to methadone, which is legal, as opposed to opioids. And the question that somebody once asked me is, can methadone kill? I would probably say, yeah, if a person overdosed, I mean, they took too much of it, they could. But because it's generally controlled, you don't really have that problem. But the main problem that you have, and I emphasize this, is that you're not really going anywhere. It's like marching in time, marching in place. You're not advancing. You're not getting any better. And you really could possibly be getting worse, because, as I said, um, it's something that you can use. Like maybe Dave could use it. However, though, just remember, once you start using that, it's going to be a lifetime before you get something done. So it's like a person who uh, is losing weight. Um, I at one point decided I'm in the process of losing weight, and I've done pretty well by cutting back on my carbs. But I at one point considered bariatric surgery. But then when I heard the pros and cons of bariatric surgery, particularly the cons, I decided against it. And then I decided I would do it the old-fashioned way and cut back my intake, to cut back those carbs as much as possible. Here's what I'm trying to get across to you. I'd lose weight easier and faster after the surgery, because my whole style of eating would have to change, or else I'll get sick. But here's my point. I would prefer to do some exercise and eat healthier, drink a lot of water. I don't drink alcohol, and get my body in shape gradually. That way you develop a lifestyle that's good for you and gives you longevity. I'm saying that to compare to people who are dealing with opioids and use methadone. Yeah, you won't crave it, but boy, if you miss, it the relapse is horrible. I've seen it. I've seen it. So one of the challenges is you have to constantly do it. If you miss, you can fall back, and you're falling back. It makes it worse for you than before. So abstaining is not easy, but it takes some commitment. It takes intensive counseling, meetings, sponsors, a network to support you and support you for a while. Sometimes it's years. The point of the matter is you begin to see my point about the challenges. Any comments or questions about the challenges related to opioid addiction and how to deal with it? Okay. The bottom line is this. Methadone has good side and bad side. The bad side is that it's temporarily delaying. It's like a stay of execution. That's what I call it, quite honestly. So, but that's just that's my opinion on it. That's my position. Switching a drug for a drug. I think your body was not intended to have all of that stuff in you. It was intended for you to eat well, drink well, but because of problems people have, as innocently as these people that we saw in the video who went there even for pain. I have pain in my back, and my wife, she's just always telling me, why don't you take this pill or that pill? I says, oh no, dear, I'm not doing that. Because you saw what happened in the video. People started um, getting um, doses that were higher for that pain, and eventually they jumped over into the heroin and then the opioid, and there they were, boom, off to the races. All started because of pain. I used to represent professional athletes, and I knew several, particularly football players, who ended up being addicted to drugs because of an injury that they had, and the surgeries that they had, and the painkillers that they started out on, and they gradually ended up dealing with opioids. So they had a lot of money, so they were able to keep it quiet, but some of them OD'd. All right, let's move on. So drug treatment and rehabilitation programs. So we're going to talk about uh, this in a fashion that a lot of my students, whenever I'm teaching this, I have to tell them, this is not about your religious beliefs. This is about your desire or ability to get some help from ultimately a force that is greater than any human, greater than any of us. Uh, Something that we can't manipulate. Because you know you can manipulate people, all right? So there's a number of things. So this talks about 12 step and others, and we're going to close out by talking about that 12 step from Alcoholics Anonymous and compare it to the intense thing that's needed to overcome um, substance abuse. So you have support from outpatient and inpatient programs. And so there's no cookie cutter treatment for anyone. When you are inpatient, you're you actually almost like in locked up. And the reason why you're locked up is because you don't have the ability to say no, and you're body is controlled by the drug. And so you're put into a position where you will be monitored and get you some help. So look how long it says. Long term is 6 to 12 months. You remember that young lady? She had almost a year, but look at what happened. Um, but the key thing is that a lot of people can't last even 6 months in the treatment because it's tough, it's grueling, it's very, very, very difficult. And what they do is they go right back to the habits that they have. And then some people just can't afford the inpatient residential treatment. But the key thing is you've got to be committed. That's the key thing. You've got to be committed. You have to decide that you're going to go to 6 o'clock and doggone, you're not going back to 12. You're not going to go past 6 and go to 7, which gets you closer to 12. Would take you to 8, 9, and then up, you're halfway back into trouble again. You know what I'm talking about. The point of the matter is 6 o'clock is the 180-degree direction that your life has to go in, and you will have to grow from that juncture. It's like I tell people that if you get to 6 o'clock and you get in your car and drive, the further away you get, the smaller that problem becomes because it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then it appears to disappear. However, if you back up and go back, you'll find it. It's waiting there for you. And unfortunately, that's what people do. And a lot of times they can't do it because of they're stuck on their peers, their associates, their friends, even sometimes their family. So you got the long-term patient treatment, which is the best, but is most grueling. And then you have the short term, and it's roughly about 30 days. The success rate for that is way down, way down. And because it's short, um, it, 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 it is an attempt to help the individual to return to the community, but unfortunately, individuals find themselves going back out. Just like outpatient individual counseling focuses on reducing and stopping, giving you skills and giving you a recovery plan. But remember, your recovery plan is only as good as how much you use it or your willpower that you have within you. If your willpower is not very good, you can find yourself in a bad situation. And so to enhance that, what is considered is what we call group counseling, as well as individual counseling, where individuals in these groups all have something in common. They've either had the problem or on their way out of the problem, or they're maybe advancing a little more than you and can talk and share experiences and help you by mentoring you, giving you some accountability to them. And so it's still, once again, it's not like bam, snap your finger. It's not like cutting a light on and off. No, it doesn't work like that. And so we come to the point where we talk about the importance of individuals who are in your life, your peers, and the importance of them in all of these treatment, whether it's short-term, long-term, outpatient, and that could apply to drugs or alcohol. And so we're going to talk about in just a few minutes the 12 steps that are used to help alcoholics, but these same steps can be applied to individuals to help them overcome the opioid addiction. I didn't say it was easy. I didn't say that most aren't successful. But the key word that I keep saying over and over is commitment, 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 commitment. And we're going to talk about that more in detail in just a few seconds. For opioid addiction, medication-assisted treatment with methadone or any of these things that we talked about, knowing that you got naloxone or Narcan can help you. But once again, it's like rolling the dice. You could get snake eyes. You can crap out. You know what I'm talking about. Anybody know what I'm talking about when I say that? I'm not even a gambler, but I know about it. Okay, Lynn says she don't know what that means. That's what gamblers use in terms of saying that they've lost. So if they put money down and they get snake eyes, yeah, I don't gamble either, but I've heard about it. I know about it. And I think I'm right, but I think snake eyes is when the dice have one dot on it, and they call them snake eyes because those two sit. I think that's right. I think I'm right. I don't think it's two on each one, but I think it's one. But the point of the matter is, here's the point. What you're doing is you're rolling, dice to determine how you're going to live. Do you think that's a good way to live? Absolutely not, because you're gambling. And the numbers are going to come up against you. And all it takes is one bad incident, as you discovered from last week's video. I think that I've seen this video a number of times, and it has left an impression on me that makes me look at this whole thing a whole lot different from when the first time I saw that video. But the use of the prescribed medication eases the symptoms and it says quickens the transition to recovery. But remember, if you use those things, you also gotta have some willpower developing in addition to that. And the willpower has to ultimately graduate to the level that you don't even need those medications like methadone, and that you can do it without it. Because if you don't, you're going to perish. So let's get into and conclude by talking about these 12 steps. Now, I'm going to read them and then I'm going to talk about them. So Alcoholics Anonymous was founded by Bill Wilson, said there are 12 steps that can help people with alcoholics. And it's a common approach used in addiction as well. So first of all, and this is the key, admit you're powerless over alcohol, that your life change had become unmanageable. So let's say admit you were powerless over drug use, and that your life had become unmanageable. So here's the deal. What's the first thing? Admit that you have a problem. Admit to yourself. I can tell you you have a problem. Everybody around you can tell you that you have a problem. But if you don't accept it, there is a prayer that's called the Serenity Prayer. Anybody ever heard the Serenity Prayer? Yes. God help me um, change the things. And basically, yes, it starts out like that. I don't know how to say the whole thing, but you know what I'm talking about. So what you're really doing is accepting that you are powerless and that you need help. And so in that instance, this serenity is reaching out to God, as is this here. So it says, second point, come to believe that there's a power. Notice what they say. They didn't say God. They said, no, there's a power greater than you that could restore you to sanity. Some people call it the force. Some people call it karma. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But the truth of the matter is that you can't do it all by yourself. I once was told this old adage as a lawyer, and you may have even heard it, that he or she who represents themselves has a fool for a client. Self-diagnosis is not the best thing for you. You grab on that point. You guys get that? Yeah, you need a power greater or someone who's more knowledgeable, and you have to respect that and not go into the river in Egypt called the Nile, but we use denial. You know what I'm talking about, denial. And you can, oh, no, not me, not me. Or, famous last words, oh, it won't happen to me, it won't happen to me. Tombstones have that on there. I was wrong. I was wrong. So in this process, you're going to come to the point where you believe that there is a power greater than you that can help restore you to what you were before. 3, turn over your will and your lives over to the care of God. Now, that's what is in here. But I don't believe in God. That's what some people might say. I said, it doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not. Whatever you believe in, you need to turn it over to a power that's greater than you and give up your free will. Because guess what your free will has done? Your free will has gotten you into deep, deep, deep trouble. It has created what I call the walking dead, zombieism, where there's nothing good about a new day coming. You just be wanting to try to get through the day. But my God, the day is not going to get any better for you. And you're miserable. And you reach a point at the end where, unfortunately, you can commit suicide, become depressed. So the key thing is that you're going to have to make a decision to let go of your own will, your ideas, the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror, the person in the mirror, and turn it over to someone else, which incidentally, the person in the mirror is really not you. It's an image of you, but you relate to it. Did you not know you have never seen yourself? You've seen pictures of yourself. That's an image. You've seen mirrors. Think about what I just said. I can see you. Well, I can't see you, but like you can see me. But if I, was in the room with you or you were on camera, I could see you. You know, but the point of the matter is this: is that you get to the point where you have to let go of your own control, give control to someone, some source that's greater than you. You know what? That's how you learn as students. I had a student one time told me, he said, I took business law with you. No, criminal law. He says, now I know as much criminal law as you do. And I laughed at him. I said, how ridiculous. You took 5.5 weeks of criminal law and you know as much. Well, I'm younger. I hear you all laughing. I already hear you laughing. You don't even have to put it up there. But you understand my point. I said, that ain't, yeah, yeah. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, the point of the matter is, I know more than this. I had one student tell me in one of my classes that he knew the lecture that I gave and could have given it better than me. But I laughed at him because I told him, I'm getting paid. How much you getting paid? You're paying, right? Anyway, you get the point. I mean, you have to laugh at some of the ridiculousness. But here's what I'm trying to use that to get a point across, and that is that we have to recognize that our will and desires is inferior to uh, a place or source that can help us. And we need to find that place and work hard to take away from that place. Just like I hope you take away from this course more than what you had when you first came in here. Number 4, make a searching and fearless inventory of yourself. Um, Examine yourself. Don't be trying to compare yourself with others. Look at yourself. Look at who you are, who you want to become. I know that it took me 7 years to go through college when I had friends who took 4 years. But I was working and raising kids. I was working a full-time job and going to school. I had this old thing called books, big books, and things like that. But here's my whole point is that I didn't compare that I was, okay, it took me longer. Guess what? I ended up going farther than those individuals who went faster. I like to consider myself as you heard the little parable about the tortoise and the hare. You know that one? Yeah, I'm the tortoise. I am. I'm the tortoise. Because the hare was so confident that they had it. Oh, I got this one. I got this one, and ran out of gas. Then who crossed the finish line first? Because the hare was so oblivious and caught up in himself. So he didn't really examine who he was. What he but the tortoise just took his time and made it across. It's like I tell my students, you may not always finish it the best, but finish it. Do you know what half a bridge is? It's not a bridge. I don't even know why you could say that's an oxymoron. A half a bridge is no bridge at all. The definition of a bridge is something that can help you to cross over. These are little things that God has given me a talent and a gift, yep, to do. So I never seen a person say, "Oh, that's a half a bridge. I can't cross over." No, it's not a bridge. Don't even use that word because the definition of a bridge is something that lets you cross over. So make a searching and fearless inventory of yourselves. 5 says, admit to God, to ourselves, and to another human the nature of our wrongs. Admit that when you're wrong. Don't you? I was once told a long time ago, 2 wrongs don't make a right. So I said, my God, I'll never have that happen because I was born a right. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. I was, when my wife met me, I introduced myself. I'm Mr. Right. But the point of the matter is this. You know what I'm saying? I'm joking when I say that, but um, you have to admit when you're wrong. When you're wrong, you're wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong. Don't, one of the worst things in the world is for people to drag out their wrongs. And then they are so humble, so proud, you know. I said, my goodness. I said, when I was a kid, we had these erasers on pencils. But when I was a little kid, we didn't have erasers on pencils. We had them big pencils that looked like tree trunks. You rest them on your shoulders. A, B, the big fat pencils. They didn't have erasers. but we had those big erasers that we could use. So what are erasers for? Get rid of your mistakes and let you start again. And that's what we want to do, erase our wrongs. But in order to do that, you have to, first of all, admit that you have wrongs. Okay. Number 6, you were entirely ready to have God remove these defects. Okay, God or some source to remove these defects of character. But remember, once again, if you didn't admit that you got them, how you going to, I'm good. I'm good. I only smoke marijuana. I smoke it all the time, but I don't use cocaine and opioids. I look at that person and say, you both on drugs. You both are going to find yourself, and incidentally, good old marijuana smokers, they're gateway drugs. They are. They really are. Yeah, well, anyway, there are people who would disagree with me, but they're the ones who come around later saying, I forgot what I was asking you. Yeah, I know, because you're so high. But you know what I'm saying. The point of marriage is that you have to recognize that you have some defects in character and deal with them. Deal with them. Humbly, number 7, ask him to remove your shortcomings or someone to help you get rid of your shortcomings. But if you don't got any, did you not know I'm a professor and I study law, but I still learn law from other individuals, some even younger and some older? I don't know all the law, but I know how to operate in the basis of a process that use it. So therefore, I'm willing to listen to changes and things. Number 8, make a list of all the persons that you've harmed and become willing to make amends with them. Because don't we know? Wait a minute, I want to get that one in because I think I know what you just said. Um, it changes all the time. It's always something new. Yeah, yeah, to learn. That's right. That is absolutely right. You can always learn something new. That is absolutely. You know what? I have a policy, guys, that I put on myself. If I don't learn something that I didn't already know before the start of that day, that's a wasted day for me. And think about it. In my life that I've lived, if I had one for every day, I didn't know that when I was a little baby, but when I got to the point where I could do that, let's say if I even started at 12, I got a lot of stuff I learned, picked up. And that's the key. Life is learning, you know, uh, and you live and you learn. You heard that before? You live and you learn. Yeah, it's true. It's true. So, so you got to go and apologize to people. You got to think about it. Humble yourself. Um, made direct amends to such people, except when to do so would injure them or others. Do it in a proper form. Do it a proper way at a proper time. Number 10, continue to take self inventory. In other words, it's not just a one-time thing. It's a regular thing. It's a process that you should have, taking personal inventory. And when you are wrong, we already talked about that, but this repeats it, promptly admit it. Personal inventory, my Bible says, let a man examine himself. That means mankind. That doesn't mean just a man or a woman. It means mankind. Examine yourself. Look at you. Look at Richard. Look at Korea. Look at Lynn. Look at, is it, I think it's the F. Is the F for Fran? I think I'm right. Is it Fran? Oh, that's too long. Okay. Okay, Fertina. I'm messing with you, you know. But you know what I'm talking about. The point of the matter is that the point of the matter is that look at yourself. Look at yourself. There's an old gospel song that says, and I was talking to somebody about this today. Sweep across your own front door before you try to sweep across mine. And it's an old gospel song by a gospel group called the Williams Brothers. And what it really means is mind your business before you're trying to take care of mine. I always tell people that I don't have enough time to mind your business until after I finish all of mine. But do you not know that you have enough business to last your life if you work on that? Don't you hate people that are always trying to judge somebody else based on them? It's crazy. You look crazy. You look really crazy. I like to look at these videos on Facebook. There's a guy named Dar Man. Does anybody know who I'm talking about when I say that name? Dar Man, DHARMAN. And he has these videos on Facebook. And he had one that really got me where a guy comes into uh, uh, this guy is all primp and prom, and he's you know, come in. He's all dressed up in a suit, and then this guy comes in. The other guy comes in, and he's dressed in tennis shoes, and he's dressed very casual. And anyway, they're looking at this painting, and the guy says, the prop and prim guy says, "I'm." Um, and they said, "What's your?" And the guy reached out to shake his hand. And he wouldn't shake his hand. He says, "I'm Dr. Ramsden." That's what the other guy said. And the guy says, "Oh, nice to meet you, Dr. Ramsden." And so anyway, the process went on, and they had several incidents and so forth. And they were looking at this painting and bidding on the painting. So anyway, just cutting to the chase, here's what happened. The guy with the gym shoes, which it turns out, by the way, his shoes were worth $10,000. The guy who was, the preppy guy, his shoes cost like $1,000. And he had a degree, but the other guy didn't have a degree. So he says, "Oh, I guess you have to work hard for a living." Well, long story short is that they put the bid in, and the guy that was dressed casual, he actually ended up getting the painting. And the guy says, "Wait a minute, how did you get the painting? You didn't go to college." He says, "Yeah, that's because you assumed that I wasn't doing well because I didn't go to college." He says, uh, "Allow me to." No, oh, by the way, the guy who's a preppy said he worked for this company called C Square. That was the name of the company, and he was an accountant. So the guy in that was dressed regularly, at the end, he says, "How could you afford to do this?" He says, "Oh," he says, when I was younger, I started this little company, and it eventually grew to be a big company, and I did pretty well. So anyway, the guy says, "Okay," and so he says, "Allow me to give you one of my business cards." He says, "I'm Chris Crawl." That's what C Square stood for, which stands for C Square, and I'm the owner of C Square. He was his boss. He owned the company that the dude was working for. You have to see it. It's hilarious. But I love that because he drew a conclusion based on what he thought about somebody else. So don't ever do that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. All right. So anyway, but it fits within a person taking personal inventory. And the guy never admitted that he was wrong, but you should have seen the pie on his face. I mean, it was like, and the guy was nice. He put him on his hand. He says, "All right, Doctor, whatever you, Ramsden." He says, "You have a good day," and he left. Instead of firing him, he didn't fire him. So you guys, that little story though is an example And I look at those on Facebook. So number 11, we're almost through. Continue to take personal inventory and no, that's not. 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve your conscious contact with God as you understand Him, praying only for knowledge for His will for you and the power to carry it out. The point of the matter is pray to God or power, whatever it is that can guide you and help you. Um, some people talk about the power of positive thinking, those kind of things. But whatever, the point of the matter is that you have to go through some prayer or meditation to focus. Some people do, you know, the basketball coach that we used to have for the Bulls, Phil Jackson, was the Zen master, and he was in Zen Buddhism. There's people who do yoga and stuff like that. The point of the matter is something to help you get into yourself. As I heard Chris Rock one time says, what you need to do is be by yourself to learn about yourself. That's what he was telling somebody once. But you all get my point. I mean, I'm giving you some stuff that kind of helps it stick a little bit. The final one, having a spiritual awakening as a result of all the steps that we've talked about. And that's what they do to alcoholics and then do the drug, and to practice the principles in all your ways and all your things. Um, I am told in my Bible, um, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. Let Him direct my path. That's me. So whatever you believe. The point of the matter is, it's a spiritual. And you know what something spiritual is? It's something you can't see. Um, so, but anyway, so those are some steps that will help individuals. Uh, took some notes. If not, you can listen to what I said in the video. And somebody don't ask me to repeat them because every time they come differently because I don't have notes for all of this stuff. So anyway, um, that's it. That's it for this particular course. I'm going to give you a key phrase. Something, okay, give me a specific one. You're on the right track. Give me a specific one. No, a specific program. Ah, there you go. That's it. Methadone. You don't have to have clinic. It's methadone, even though I don't like it. But it's one of the ones that is talked about a lot. So, yeah, methadone. Um, it's a treatment that is highly touted, but I already told you I've shot more holes in it than Swiss cheese. But anyway, the truth of the matter is that it is still something that they still believe in and apply. So I don't like temporary stuff. I like stuff that takes me permanently in another direction. I like sustaining power. I don't like temporary relief. Because did you know not what painkillers do? Painkillers don't treat the problem. What they do is they deaden the pain, or they make it you oblivious to the pain, but it's still there. You know. So what you got to do is get that pain and take care of that pain so that it goes away. That's like the drug issue. Don't anesthetize it. Treat it. go in a new direction, the 180. Okay, guys, so methadone is the key to getting your points for this week. I have thoroughly enjoyed. I thank you guys. You guys have been my regulars to come out this term. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed. As I tell my students, my talks, that I hope I've imparted some wisdom into you to help you both in a academic as well as in a personal level in life. I kind of know something to get to 71. I'll be 72 May 3rd, you know. So, but so I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Korea. I told my wife, I said, I have a student who's named after a whole town, a country. Is really? Is the name America? Even though I do know someone with that name, America. I says, nope, it's Korea. She says, oh, wow, that is so cool. Yep, that is good. I would have never guessed my age. That's good. When I ask for the senior citizen discount in restaurants, I look at their faces, but I give it to them anyway. I says, May 3rd, 1950, do the math real quick. They just look at me. I says, yes. Um, Funny story, and I'm gonna let you go. I was at Walmart and I got in the cart. You know those carts, those electric carts that people ride around that they have disabilities or they're seniors. So I got in one of the carts and I was sitting there and I was waiting for my wife to come and then inside the store and we were going to head on in because my back couldn't take walking on that concrete and those stores are big. Yes, you don't know. So anyway, she says, lady looks at me and says, young man, I said, excuse me. She says, do you know that you're taking up a cart from a senior? I says, well, no, I didn't know that. She says, I says, so um, are you a senior? She says, well, I am, and I hope, I can get one. I says, can I ask you a question just since you've done this to me? Are you older than 71? She said, oh, no, I'm 55 or something like that. I started laughing. I says, I'll be 72 next year, and that was last year. She says, no way. So I got the LOL that you gave me, Korea. So, but that's the point. Take care of yourself. You know, I love it. I love it. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. Um, Unless my doctor gives me a prescription for them, and even then, I'm very careful about them. So anyway, the point of the matter is that that's me. That's even with all the stuff that if you guys know my story, adversity is a springboard to success, and listen to it, what I went through. Like I told somebody, I don't have to look like what I've been through. So that's just it. So I'm gonna have a smile on my face, and I'm gonna enjoy my next 2 weeks. No classes, yay! Until the 4th of April. Um, I hope I see some of you next term. I don't know. Let's see. I am going to be teaching. This is what I'm going to be teaching. They just told me. Um, let's see if I got it still on my phone. Oh, I got it on the other email. It's let's see. I'll tell you for the spring because we're going to spring. Let's see. Here it comes. Ah, here it is. My spring schedule For T1, which starts the 4th, I'll be teaching Contemporary Issues in Criminal Justice Capstone. This is for people who are about to graduate and with associates. And Introduction to Corrections and Constitutional Law. That's what I'll be teaching the first term. The second term, I'll be teaching this course again, Drugs and Crime, and Constitutional Law again. So maybe I'll see you in one of those. Don't let me see you in Drugs and Crime, okay? None of you guys here are going to be in that class. I already know, so you don't have to say that. Okay. Good night, guys. Again, been a pleasure teaching you, and hope to see you down the road. If you do need any help down the road, you can always reach back out to me. When you get to the point that you start seeking employment, reach out to me, and I will do the best I can to try to help you with letters of recommendation. Though we got a process now that's really crazy now, and so it slowed me down. Okay, you won't be in any of my classes again. Is that right? Is that why? Because did I get you upset, huh? Lynn said. Is that because you're graduating? Okay. All right. I got you. Not yet. In September, I will. Okay. All right. So enjoy, guys. Take care, and I'll see you down the road. Good night. Keep a smile on your face.